Hello, everybody. So, welcome back. And so, today we are going to talk about for loop. And this is one of the most used function, or I'm going to say an operation that's used in your Python. So, this session is going to be about for loop. All right. So, let me change this into Markdown. So, this way you know. All right. So, let's start with for loop. So let's say you want to print, okay? You want to print something, let's say a simple message, let's say hello, okay? Hello. And you want to print this 10 times, or let's say 5 times, okay? One, two, three, oops, sorry about that. Three, four, and 5 times, all right? So let's print this thing, and it prints hello 5 times, okay? What if you want to print this hello 1,000 times, okay? How do you do this? And you can clearly cannot use this operation. You cannot just do, copy and paste like hello, hello 1,000 times. That's going to take you forever. So this is where your for loop actually helps. For loop is designed for repetitive tasks. So something that you do over and over again, over and over again, that's where for loop shines. So this particular print hello that I'm performing 5 times, I can actually use for loop to actually print this thing. So let me show you how I do that thing. I say for I in, and then I say 0, 1, 2, and 3 because I want 4 times. So sorry, 5 times. So I'm going to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then I say print hello. All right. So now what's going to happen is that this for is a reserved keyword. It's going to loop through this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to create it's going to have an iterator. This I is an iterator. It's going to go through these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as it's traversing through these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to execute this statement. All right. So let's run this. And you see, hello, 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 hello. What if you want to have 5, 6? You can have as many as you want, okay? And it's going to print like 7 of them over here. So this is a simple example. Let's say you want to have a little bit more. You want to have 2 statements, okay? You want to say hello, and let's say you want to say hello. Let's see somebody's name, okay? So let's say somebody's name is uh, let's put dot 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 over here. Let's say Geeta, okay? Geeta. Okay, hello Geeta, and we're gonna change this to only 5 times. It's gonna print hello Geeta, hello Geeta, hello Geeta, hello Geeta 5 times. And when I print over here, print, oops, done. Okay. So what just happened? It's gonna print hello Geeta 5 times. Okay, and after that, right here, your for loop ends at right there, and then it's going to print done, right? So as you can see, oops, mistake is made somewhere over here. Okay, I did not close this. So let's close this string. Sorry, open the string. All right, oops, made another mistake. All right. So see, hello Geeta, hello Geeta, hello Geeta, hello Geeta, hello Geeta, prints it 5 times. And after that, when this for loop is done, it exits the for loop, and then it prints print done. So it prints the done. So this is a simple example of for loop. Well, let's say you want to do this thing 1,000 times. So clearly, you don't gonna sit over here and type 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 1,000 numbers. Okay, you cannot do that. That's not possible. So there is a function called range. All right. So using range, you can create these numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many you want to create. So the way you do this thing is you actually say list, okay, list range. So let's create a list, and this list will actually contain your range. Okay, so range is a function that generates all these numbers. Okay, so this way you can actually create a list of numbers, okay, from 0 all the way up to 3 actually. It's not gonna do the 4 actually, it actually stops at 4. But it's gonna do up to 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's just print our list range, and also let's look at the type. Remember, it's a good idea to look at the type, so it kind of gives you an idea what that element is. All right, list range. All right, so let's run this, and it prints 0, 1, 2, 3. So it goes from 0 to 3. Okay, it does not print 4, the last one it excludes, and it's a type of a list. All right, good. That's what you want. This is your list right here. All right, so now let's do the same statement. Okay, let's run the same this code. This time we use list range. Okay, so I'm just going to use this right here, or I can just use this. All right, so copy, paste it over here, and execute, and there you go. Hello Gita, hello Gita, hello Gita. Let's say 4 different times, and then it's going to say print done at the end. All right. Now the thing is, in literature, I mean in programming, you really don't need this list keyword anymore over here. Okay, you can actually remove this list, and you can just say range. Right? You can just type range, and that's going to do the same thing. You see, it does exactly the same thing. So what this range is called a generator. Okay, range is a generator. Range is generator, and the reason it is called generator, as the name indicates, and I'm sure you must have figured out by now, is that it's generating these numbers. You see that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how many you want. If you want to have 4,000, okay, let's say 1,000, you can just put 1,000 over here, and you hit run. It's going to print hello Gita 1,000 times. I'm not going to do that over here, but you can try it in your home. Okay, so this way you can actually generate these range of numbers. So you don't have to manually go type 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, uh, what? Let's print the value of I. Okay, let's look at this. Let's analyze this range a little bit more. Okay, let's delve deeper into this. So let's just copy and paste. Okay, and let's try to understand what this range is doing. Okay, so if I print the value of this I, okay, let's see what it does. It prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and done. So basically this I is an iterator. And what it's doing, that as it's going through the loop, is taking different values. You see, when it went to the loop, when it goes through the loop one time, the first time, it prints the value of I becomes 0. Let's make it a little bit more descriptive. F, let's use our grow friend format string. Okay, I is, and then I put I over here. So some of you, if you don't know what this notation is, you can actually refer to my print or yeah, my print notes, and that's going to help you understand what's happening over here. So in essence, this is actually going to print I is, and whatever is inside your curly braces, whatever variable is inside the curly braces is going to substitute the value of that variable in here. That's what's happening over here. Okay, so let's run this, and you see I is 0, I is 1, I is 2, I is 3, I is 4. So it's iterating through each one of these values. I is taking each one of these values, and then it's printing it over here because of this print statement. And at the end, when this is done, it says print done. Okay, uh, what if you want, let's what if you want to skip over some values? Okay, you want to say I is 0, I is let's say 3, I is, you want to skip like 3 digits. Okay, so this range gives you the option. Okay, it gives you the option to skip. So let me just type range now skips. Okay, so if I say range 0 to, let's say 10, right, 0 to 10, and I want to skip 2 digits. Okay, I want to skip two numbers. So let's see what it does. Oops. Oh, what am I doing? All right, let me go up. All right. So see, what's happening over here is that it starts with 0 and it's going to go up to 10. All right, actually it's going to print all the way up to 9, not 10, because it skips the, as I said, it skips the last digit and the this particular number. And this is telling you the step, like how many numbers it can actually print. So for example, not how many numbers, but how many numbers to skip. So for example, let's say, uh, notepad, let me open up the notepad so this way you can see. So let's say you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what's happening is it's actually going 0. Okay, it's going to print 0, and then okay, it's going to print 0. Let me just, okay, and then let me see if I can increase the size of the screen so you can see. All right, so it's going to print 0 first. Okay, 0, then it's going to skip one digit. Okay, it's going to skip one, and then it's going to skip the second one, and then it's going to print 2. Okay, and it's going to skip 1 right there, that's your skip, and then it's going to skip this one too, and then it's going to print 4. So see, each one of the time is skipping. Okay, so from here to here is one skip, and this is your second skip, and then it's going to print 2. One skip, two skip, 4, and then one skip, and then two skip, then third digit. So this is how it's coming. So this 2 actually is telling how many numbers it should skip. So if you say, let's say 3, okay, let's see what it prints. It's going to print 0, 3, 6, 9. If you write 4, or let's say 5, it's going to skip how many digits? 5 of them. So 0, 5. So basically, that's what this last argument does. If you do not specify your last argument, the step size skips the number of the numbers the numbers is going to skip by default is equal to 1. Okay, uh, let's say you don't want to start with 0. Okay, let's say you want to start with some other number. Okay, so let's say you want to start with, let's pick some other number. Let's say you want to start with 10, and you want to go all the way up to 30. Okay, and you want to skip maybe, actually you don't want to skip right now. Okay, so let's say you want to start with 10 and go all the way up to 30. Let's see if it does that. And it does. You see 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up to 29. So it does not print 30, it only prints up to 29, one digit before that. What if you want to print these numbers, but you only want to print the every two numbers? You want to skip every two numbers. Okay, so let's do that. 10, 32. Remember, this is a skip. Okay, execute the statement, and there you go. 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And likewise, if you want to skip more numbers, you can do that too. Okay, uh, what if you have, now in this particular over here, the examples that I was taking were basically all of the number, all the digits were, or the contents of the list was basically integer. What if the contents are string? So let's work with that. Let's say you have fruits. Okay, fruits equal to let's say a banana, right? And let's say peaches. Let's say mango. Okay, let's say 3 fruits. All right, and you want to print each one of these fruits out. Okay, so one way to do this thing is you can actually say print. Okay, print fruits. Oops, print fruits, and you type 0. Okay, and then you say prints fruits 1, and then print fruit 2. Okay, if you execute this statement, it's going to print banana, peaches, mango. Okay, so what's happening over here, like in fruits 0, I'm basically printing the element. I'm accessing the element of the list fruits, and I'm accessing by index 0. This is your index 0. This is index 1. This is index 2. So that's how it's getting printed over here. What if you have a list made of thousands of fruits? Clearly, you cannot be expected to do all this, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way up to 1,000. That's going to take forever. So there is a way where this thing can be achieved, and that's where your for loop helps. If you think about it, your 0, your 1, your 2, these things are changing, right? Basically, fruit 0, fruits 1, fruits 2, these things are changing. So we can actually put this inside a for loop. So let's do for. I, okay, actually for let's say F stands for fruit, for F in fruits, all right, and then you just type F over here. That's all you have to do, okay, and then you type print done. So this way you know your, so this way you know, should we turn that thing on please? Oh, it is working. Yeah. So this way you know that your for loop is over. Okay, that's why I put this print done at the end. All right. So see, bananas, peaches, mango, and then at the end it's done. Okay. Then, okay, this is done. Uh, Excuse me. Okay. So moving on to the next topic. Let's say you want to print these fruits, okay, but you don't want to print them each one of them in a single line, each line. You want to print them all in one single line, okay? So let's do that. So the way you're going to do this is, let me just copy this whole code, put it over here. Control V. All right. So the way you do this thing is, you actually say end, okay? End equal to, then you specify nothing in there. By default, there is a new line character. Okay, this is the default value. And so what's happening is when you run this thing, you see it's printing banana, peaches, mangoes, done. All these items in your list, basically they are printed. Each one of them is printed on a separate line. You can actually modify this behavior by putting a blank space. By putting in a blank space, now you see there banana, peaches, mangoes, they all get printed in one single line, and then at the end it's done. Right there, this done statement gets printed. All right, so next one. Let's say you wanna, let's just play around with this thing a little bit more. Okay, let's say you wanna print, oops, see, control V. Okay, let's say you wanna print a sentence now. Okay, you want to print a sentence and then you want to say that I love fruit. All right, so remember our good old friend format. So I'm going to say I love and then F over here. All right, so F would be a fruit. That's your iterator. That's what your F is basically. Each time when you're iterating through these fruit loop, it's basically going through each one of these fruits, and it's going to print I love F, which is your fruit. Okay, I love bananas, I love peaches, I love mango. All right. So then what if you want to see the type? Okay. So let's say you have, let me just scroll down a little bit, and let me scroll a little bit down so you can see my screen. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger so you can see a little better. All right. So let's say you have a list. Okay. Your list is assorted LST. Okay. And let's say assorted LST is basically consists of, let's say, number one. It consists of a Boolean variable, true. Okay. It also consists of, let's say, some string. Let's say the string is add extra. Okay. And let's say it consists of a dictionary. All right. You know how to create a dictionary? You say in this dictionary code and dictionary bracket, and let's say the hash is your key, or actually let's say your apple is the key. All right. And then you have his value is, let's say, is the weight. So let's say the weight of an apple is 12 ounces. All right. And then you also have, let's put one more thing. Let's put a list inside this list. Okay. And this list will have 2, 6, and 9. All right. So you have a list, and inside this list, you have elements. You have first element, which is your this one, which is your integer. You have a Boolean variable. Okay, then you have a string variable, which is a string type. Then you have a dictionary type inside, and then you have right here is your another list inside a list. Let's say you want to print, you want to see what type of elements are inside this list. So what am I going to do? For let's say E, for E, N, E stands for, let's say, element. Okay, in assorted list, and then you're gonna say print. Okay, and you want to print this thing, print let's say F, and say L, okay, or F in I'm sorry, in this case E. E is of type, and then we're going to use our type statement, okay, type of E, all right? And then when this is done, let's print done, print done. Okay, so what's happening over here is it's going to iterate through this list, okay, through this particular list, assorted list, and it's gonna each time when it iterates, this E will take different values. So in the first case, it's gonna take value of 1. So it's gonna print, whatever the information about that 1 is. Then it's gonna take the value true. Then it's gonna print the statement. Then it's gonna take the values add astra. So each time this E right here is gonna take some values, okay? And each value it takes, based on that, it's gonna print that statement over here. All right, so let's run this. And there you go. So one is of type class int. So this is your first one right here. Okay. One is of class type int. Then the next time your E takes the value of true, it prints this statement. Then it takes the value of string. It takes this statement. Then then it takes the value of a dictionary, and then it prints this thing, and so on and so forth. Then at the end, it prints done. Okay, you can also iterate. So far, we have been iterating over a list. By the way, you can also iterate over a tuple, okay, because tuple is a sequence. Anything that is a sequence, you can iterate over that. So let's create a tuple, okay. So let's say your TPL tuple equal to, and the way you create a tuple is, there are a lot of ways to create a tuple, so I'm going to use this one, okay. So let's say you create a tuple, all right, and inside this tuple, you actually say 1, okay, you say 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma, let's say a string, yeah, let's call it hello, okay, hello, and then let's put a list in it, okay, you can put a list inside a tuple, no problem, 4, 6, and 7, okay, and then you can actually just print this thing out. So for element with E, for E in PPL, all right, print your E, all right, and print then at the end done. Print done. All right. So what it's going to do, it's going to print all the elements of tuple. All right. There you go. 1, 2, 3, hello, 4, 6, 7, done. So see, for loop basically it does all the things. Okay, so that's nice. Now, what can we do with this thing? All right. So let's look at some of the practical application of for loop. Let's say you have a list, okay, and you want to add the numbers. Okay. So let's say your list is actually, let's just start like this. Let's say you want to create a sum, okay, sum equal to 0. And let's say your list is LST equal to, let's say your list is basically 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And you want to add all these numbers, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You just want to add them. So one way you can do using for loop is like this. Let me scroll down so you can see my screen. Okay, so I'm going to say for, okay, element E, all right? So for I in LST, okay. I could have used, I'm using I over here. I could have used E or some other thing, whatever you want to feel like, that's up to you. So I'm going to say sum, okay, equals sum plus I, all right. So what it's going to do is going to iterate through this list, okay, LST, and it's going to keep adding sum over there, okay. And it's going to keep adding sum to the previous value of the sum that it added. So it's basically just going over there and it's going to add the total value. It's going to print the total, the net sum at the end. So print sum. Let's run this, and there you go, 20. Well, let's see. I want to see how exactly it's doing this thing. Okay, how it's adding sum. Okay, so let's just print a little sum statement over here. F sum is, all right, sum. Okay, so let's print this thing for debugging purposes, and you can see. So if you look over here, the first time, oops, let me just see. Okay, so see the first time it actually went over the sum. It says sum is 0, okay? Then your I became 2, right here. Your I became 2, then your sum will become, now remember, when sum is 0, then your sum is equal to sum plus 2. 0 plus 2 is 2, so your sum now is equal to 2. That's why your sum is equal to 2. Then it goes back over here, and then I is equal to what? I becomes equal to 3, all right? I takes the value 3. When I takes the value 3, it prints the statement, sum is, now what was the previous value of sum? It would be basically 2, right? Because the previous 0 plus 2 was 2. Then it's going to say 2 plus 3, which is 5. Hence the value, then the sum now takes a new value, which is 5. And likewise, 4, okay, I becomes 4. Then it's going to print sum is, the previous value, which is 5. And then it's going to say sum, which is 4 plus 5 equal to 9. And then it's going to keep going. And that's what's happening over here. So if you want, you can actually put this thing underneath this, okay? All right. So now you can see what's happening. Okay, you change a little bit, but your sum basically becomes, first sum becomes your 2, right? The 0 plus 2 is 2, and then it becomes 2 plus 5. Okay, sorry, 5 plus 4, and then it becomes 9 plus 9 plus 4, and so on and so forth. All right, so this is one of the application of your for loop. So let's do another one. Let's say you wanna square them. All right. So let's say you wanna square these numbers. So let's call it square. All right. And you wanna square each one of them. Square, square, and square is, oops, and print square. Okay, so I want to square each term. Now, if you recall, how do you square something? You actually square by taking the number and uh, 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 you basically are multiplying by itself twice. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, and all it's going to do is going to print. That's all I want to do. I just wanted to print. So I'm going to say square is equal to I to the power 2. Okay, and that's all I want to do. I just want to print the square. Actually, I don't really need this variable anymore because all I'm doing, I'm just printing the square values. Okay, I'm not storing the values anywhere. But since I'm not storing, I just want to print it. So I don't have to actually, as a matter of fact, I don't even have to, yeah, I can leave this over here. All right, so let's run this. And there you go. Square is 4. Okay, the square of 2 is 4. Square of 3 is 9. Well, let's just say square of, okay? Let's say square of, and then make it a little bit more, descriptive and more easy to understand what's happening. All right. So your first I becomes 2, okay? So your square becomes 2 square is 4. So this statement right here, it writes square of 2 is 4. And this is what 4 comes. That's where this statement comes from, 4. Then it goes, then your I becomes 3. So square of 3 is, 3 square is this value square right there, which becomes 9. And this 9 comes from here, okay, right there. This is where your 9 comes from. And it keeps iterating over each element in the list right here. Okay, what if you wanna scale your numbers? Okay, let's say you wanna take all these numbers and you wanna scale them. So let's do that. Okay, so let's say let's call it scaled numbers. Scaled numbers. Okay, and I want to create an empty list. Okay, what I want to do, I want to scale all my numbers. I want to multiply every number by 2. I want to create another list, and that list will actually have uh, all the numbers multiplied by 2. Okay, so I'm gonna say scaled number equal to, by the way, this is scaled numbers. Okay, there is a S over here and there is no S over here. Actually, just for so that there is no confusion, let me just say scale. Okay, scale is equal to I, okay, I times 2. Okay, and then I'm going to say uh, scale numbers, scale numbers dot append. Now, if you remember, how do you add something to a list? You append to that. You say scale, okay? And then at the end, I'm gonna print scaled numbers. Okay, so what's happening over here? I'm creating a list right here, creating a list, creating an empty list first, and then I'm actually iterating over that list, okay, this for I in. And first I do over here in this statement, I create a variable called scale, and that scale is going to take I, okay, what is the initial value of I? 2, all right, and then it's going to do 2 square, which is 4, and it's going to append that to the scale numbers list, and then it's going to go back over here again, then your I becomes equal to 3, then scale is equal to 3 square, which is 9, and then it's going to append 9 over here, then I is going to take another value, which is 4. So basically I will take all these values, okay, right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's going to append those squares of those numbers, and it's going to print the result and see 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right. So this is a scale number. This is another application of for. Okay. For can also be used in list comprehension. So I'm sure you must have heard these terms, list comprehension. And so what exactly is a list comprehension? What do they mean by list comprehension? So let me write list comprehension. Okay, so let's say you have a number. Okay, let's say your numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4, comma 5. All right, and so let's look at our previous example. Okay, the scale numbers. Now in this scale numbers, instead of doing, actually let me just change this. Let me just make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's run this cell. So you can actually achieve this same thing. Okay, this whole like the way this whole logic, this whole code logic can be accomplished using list comprehension, and that's pretty neat trick. These Python creators, they came up with this thing, and the way you can actually create this whole thing instead of using this. Let me see how many lines of code. Instead of using one, two, three, four. Instead of using 4 line of code, you can actually compress that into one single line of code. And the way you do this thing is you say scale numbers equal to, open up a list bracket, and then you say I square 2, all right? Oh, let me make sure there's no space. I square 2, okay, for I, made a mistake. Okay, I square 2 for I in, okay, numbers, I in numbers. And this is it, that's it. So all it's going to do, and then you print your scale numbers, all right? And you see that it actually achieved this exactly same result. So this 4 line of code, 1, 2, 3, 4, this 4 line of code now can be can be done in this one single line of code. This is called list comprehension. So you'll see this used a lot initially, coming from C++ and Java background, not seeing anything like this. It kind of threw me off. But now, since I've been working this thing for a minute now, I'm kind of used to it. So just be aware, like this is something that you'll see in the literature. Okay, so there is that. Now let's see what else can we do now. What if you, let's say we want to do some fun project. Okay, let's say you want to print. Let's see. Let me think of something. Okay, so let's say now you want to print multiplication tables. Okay, so let's print some multiplication tables. Let me scroll down a little bit. Oops. Okay, print multiplication tables. Print multiplication tables. All right. So what I want is I'm going to print like this. Uh, let's go over here. This is what I want. I want 1 times 1 equal to 1. 1 times 2 equals to 2. 1 times 3 equal to 3. And 1 times 4 equal to 4. That's all I want. Okay. Likewise, I want 2 times 1 equal to 2. 2 times 2 equal to 4. And 2 times 3, okay, equals to 6. And 2 times 4 equal to 8. And so on and so forth. So how do I do this thing? Well, let me show you a little thing. Initially, when I was doing this thing, I had a little hard time understanding like how to do for inside a for loop. But I'll show you how you can do for inside a for loop, like using this multiplication table. So let's start with this table. Okay, let's say you want to only print this one table, right? So how do you do this thing? Okay, the way you do is you say right there, print. So let's say you start. Okay, let's say you for I in, okay, and then you say one, two, actually, yeah, three and four. Okay, for I in four, actually you want to do up to five. Okay, I in five. All right, print. Okay, you want to say duh, 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 let me see, one, two, three, four. Okay, so you want to say F. All right, F, and then remember this our format string. Okay, you want to say 1 times, and then you want to say I, okay, and then, sorry, equal to, let's make it equal to, and then you just multiply 1 by I, all right? So 1 times I, okay? All right, let's run this, and there you go. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 5 is 5. Actually, I just want only up to 4, so let's remove this 5. Let's run this again. All right, let's keep it simple. 1 times 1 is 2, 1 times 2 is 2, and so on and so forth. But, so this actually just prints this one right here, right? What if I what if I want the second loop too, and I want the third one too, like 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, and all those numbers. How would I go on about doing that? Well, the way you do this thing is, let me just come down here, paste it. What I'm going to do is you see this one right here. This one, if I can somehow change this, okay, create another variable and change this, okay, that might do the trick. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so this is called for inside of for. I'm going to say for, okay, j in range, and let's say I want to, oops, range, j range. Let's say I want to only print, like, say 1, 2, and 3. That's it. Okay, I don't want too many. Just 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to say this over here, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3. All right. All right. And then my j is going to be here. Okay. Actually, let me just make this variable different. Let me change this variable to j. Okay. J. Okay. You can call this variable something else, whatever you feel like. I'm just doing it j just for clarity. Okay. If you run this thing, that's going to give this answer. Now over here, let's change that to j. Oops. Come down, change this to j. Okay. Change this to j also. And also change this to j. Okay. Going back now on top. So I create an iterator that is going to iterate through 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember this 1. Now my 1 is going to be right here. My 1 is going to basically change. Okay. And that change is going to happen from this 1. So basically, I'm dynamically actually creating this variable. All right. So I'm putting I over here. Okay. I times j. And likewise, I change this 1, oops, to I. And now, there you go. You see, 1 times 1 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 2. Okay, now it did not print all my numbers. Oh, now can you think why is it not printing all the numbers? Let's see. Let me run this again. Maybe I did not run right. All right. For I in this, I times j is I times j, and j is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that should have been a list. Made a mistake. A list. Okay. All right. Run this. Range is not subscriptable. So what am I doing wrong over here? Okay. So okay, the mistake I'm making is this word range, right? I should not be using the word range. Should be just saying for I in 1, 2, 3. That's it. And that was a mistake. So see, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, and then 1 times 4 is 4. So this is your I right here. This I, okay, this actually is responsible for printing this one, okay, this right here. Okay, then your I becomes 2. When I becomes 2, right there, this thing gets printed. Then I becomes 3, and so on and so forth. Well, let's see, you want to put some space in between. Well, let's put some space in between. Okay, so what you can do is say print, and that's it. And run this again, and there you go. Now it's a little bit easier to understand. So the first your I takes as a value of 1. Okay, so let me come over here. So your I, in this case, your I is equal to 1. All right, here your I is equal to 2, and here your I is equal to 3. So your I will basically take one value, then it's going to take 2, then it's going to take 3. So when I is equal to 1, now it's going to go inside this loop. Okay, so inside this loop, what's happening? 1 times j. Now, what exactly is your j? When it's going inside this loop, you, in this particular case right here, okay, in this particular instance right there, your j is going to be equal to 1. Okay, in this particular case, your j becomes equal to 2. And then in this case, your j becomes equal to 3. Okay, so see your I and j will changing. Okay, they're changing each time this print statement is executing when it's inside the for loop. So this is called a for inside a for, or basically another word you would see come across is nested loops. All right. Okay. Okay, where is my mouse now? My mouse disappeared. Oh, there it is.